Over to you.
John Fehrenbach, thank you very much. What a great event so far. And listen, I'm going to put this whole audience to work. Here's why, because you're not an audience. You're my business partners. And some of you are new here tonight and you're like, whoa, I had no idea. Here it is. This is something that we all do together. And we're going to be talking tonight. We're going to go deep tonight. We're going to get emotional. I'm going to challenge you to access some transparent thoughts for yourself when we're done here tonight. But make no mistake, you are not my audience. You know, I am not here to motivate you. I am here alongside of you. And that's something I didn't understand when I first got started. And I think, all the time I've worked with John Fehrenbach, he understands. He understood from the beginning, in business for yourself, but not in business by yourself. And so I hope that if you didn't understand that coming in, when you clicked on that Zoom link tonight, that when you leave this environment this evening, when you go back to your family, I'm going to do that. I'm 2 floors down. I'm going to walk up 2 flights of stairs and see my family when we're done here tonight. When you go back to your family, to your life, I hope you are changed because this should be a transformative event for you tonight. Now, I want to assure you, I'm going to talk about actionable stuff. And when we end tonight, you're going to know what to do, how to do it, and why it's important. But I just think about everything we went over. First of all, Kayla, is it Henry? It's Kayla Riches. Do you guys know Kayla wasn't even born yet when I got started in this business? Her name wasn't even on the sign at Riches Ranch yet. That hadn't happened. That was still to come. And now she's in this business, a business partner with us. And it is fun to have friendly competition, but make no mistake, it is friendly competition. We rank so we can see how we're doing, so we can compare but not compete, so that we can pull each other up, not push each other down. Because we want all of us to win. And you know what those numbers represent? They represent us as agents of change in the lives of others. That's why I'm so grateful for what Kayla does and for what we all do. Because every time, listen, even if it was one time this month in January that your website got in front of somebody else, that somebody else might have been praying for you to bring them that information. That's what it was for me 22 years ago. Yes, I own the membership. Yes, I love the membership, but I had no idea. Listen to me carefully. I had no idea the opportunity existed. I didn't know how you got involved in this business. I just knew that the membership was awesome. That had saved me, helped me. I knew that off of my recommendation to friends and family, that they were grateful for my recommendation. They were never mad at me for it. And when it finally did arrive, it was the perfect time in my life because I was at the edge. The wolf was at the door. There was too much month at the end of the money. I couldn't have gotten any further. It was the perfect time for this to land for me. Whether it feels like it or not, when Legal Shield arrived in your life, it was the perfect time. And you'll look back in the years and decades ahead of us, you'll look back at the moment you got started and you'll realize it was the perfect time. That doesn't mean that you had the most time available. It doesn't mean that you understood everything quickly. It doesn't mean that you were out of the gates the biggest success story. It just means that for you, it came at the perfect time. That's what we all have in common. We showed up here when we were supposed to be here. And so I'm excited for you. I just want to ask one question because we are in uncharted territory with the coaching calls. Now, obviously, we do coaching calls throughout the week all the time, but the conversation started to be, hey, what if we got together and did one in a group setting for everybody? Just in the chat, just let me know if this is working for you. We've done Tuesday and Thursday. Just let me know. Have you been to one of these? Is this helpful to you? Maybe you've been around for a while. We're not saying anything new to you, but you think it's helpful to your team. Okay, I'm seeing some confirmations here. You think this is worthy of our time? Is it worthy of your time? The reason I'm pivoting is because I'm looking at the chat in a different screen over here. Okay, people are seeing this. All right, good. Okay, so we'll keep doing this. We'll carve this time out. For Mr. Riches, this is time, I mean, he's been doing this a long time. He could be taking a nap, but he's not taking a nap. He's leaning in into this business with us. He could be on an island somewhere eating grapes. He's not on an island eating grapes. He's here with us leaning in. What we're going to do in 2026, make no mistake, is going to be a shock and awe situation in Legal Shield. I mean, we have had some big years in the past. I've got some of my business partners that I've been rolling with for years that are here with us live tonight, and they could tell you. Venus Powers can tell you. Nicole Dodson can tell you that what we've been doing, the folks that have been with me for years and decades doing this, that we have had some massive years in this business where the light that shone brightest was on our team and on the individuals in our team. And everything we've accomplished in the past is nothing compared to what you're going to see us do in 2026. And the international convention that John was just talking about is really, it's not the finish line for us. That's coming up soon. That's going to really be the beginning of the whole thing. When we come together at our Cookeville event, at our Financial Freedom Boot Camp in the summer, that's going to be a check-in. You want to be there. That's going to be a check-in on your way to everything that your hopes and dreams could ever imagine. This is our year. So I've got some training for you tonight. I hope you have a pen and paper. The first part of the training is going to be information that has been delivered to me over and over again by an expert. And compared to the gentleman that trained me on this information, I pale in comparison. His name is Chris Evans. This gentleman, he's a Legal Shield ring earner. He has so many accomplishments. I don't have time for the list. This is a gentleman he's an incredible husband, incredible father, lives in the Tennessee area. You'll see him at our event in the summer. And he often told the story of Florence Chadwick. And I hope sometimes I get emotional when I think about my personal journey, because I used to not be able to pay a bill. I used to not be able to unclench my teeth. I used to not be able to breathe a deep breath because the wolf was at the door. And this business was the vehicle that changed everything in my life. So when I think about the trainings that I got along the way, the ways that my mind was expanded, my vision and my thinking was enhanced, sometimes I do get emotional, because what I'm going to share with you tonight, he shared with me at one of these events. And he talked about Florence Chadwick. And I'm going to start off with this tonight. Most of you, most likely, have never heard of Florence Chadwick. Now, when he first talked about her, I was in a room in Cookeville, Tennessee, at one of our Financial Freedom Boot Camps. It was before Google, probably. It was certainly before ChatGPT. So I couldn't catch up and figure out who he was talking about. I had to listen. I had to lean in. Resist the temptation to jump ahead. Lean in. Listen carefully. I'll share everything you need to know about Florence Chadwick. In the morning of July 4th, 1952. For some people, right now is your July 4th, 1952. On July 4th, 1952, as Chris Evans would remind us, the Pacific Ocean was a gray, bone-chilling 48 degrees. Now, why would we know that today? It must have been something historically significant happened. If all these years later, we know exactly what the temperature of the ocean water was that day. Here's the story of Florence Chadwick. In 1952, July 4th, age 32. And she stood on the edge of Catalina Island. She was a swimmer, but not a novice, a world-class athlete. Some of you do recognize the name. She was the first woman to swim the English Channel in both directions. And her goal that day, as she stood at the California coastline, was to traverse a 21-mile stretch of open, shark-infested water. And the world was watching. There were television cameras, international, mounted on boats to capture the moment that she stepped onto the mainland. And I think about as Chris Evans would tell this story, the first time I heard it, I couldn't breathe, as he recounted it so effectively. Subsequently, as he would tell it again at events in the future that I would go to, I would watch the room as people had the same reaction. See, as Florence began her swim, a thick, heavy fog rolled in. And it wasn't a mist, it was a fog. It was dense. It was a white blanket that swallowed everything. Within an hour, as she swam through those murky waters, she couldn't see the horizon. Within 2 hours, she couldn't see the support boats that were surrounding her. One with her coach, one with her mother, and all with an incredibly important duty to shoot at sharks that may come to her in these waters. So as they offered her encouragement and guarded her from the sharks, she could hear their voices, but she was alone in this vacuum. And for 15 grueling hours, she swam, pushed through the numbing cold. Every stroke was a battle against her body that was shutting down. She would pause and she would say to her mother, "I got to get out. Pull me into the boat." She would say to her coach, "I'm done. I can't go any further. Pull me into the boat." And he would assure her coach, he would say, "Listen, your stroke is good. You're making great time. Just go a little bit further. You're almost there, Florence. Don't quit." And this would go on. She would go a little bit further, tired again, without the ability to see through the dark fog, and say again, "I'm tired. I can't go any further. Pull me into the boat." She was cold. She was freezing. And again, her coach pleaded with her, and he said, "Listen, your stroke is still strong. There's not that much further to go. You can do this. Keep going." And again, Florence trusted her advisor, her coaches, her mom, and swam some more. And then finally, when she felt like she just couldn't go any further, she looked out into that white abyss and saw nothing and said defiantly, "That's it. Pull me into the boat." And they did. Because to her, the shore didn't exist. There was only the cold, there was only the water, and there was only the fog. The mental exhaustion had outweighed the physical strength. She was numb and she was discouraged. She'd stopped swimming. She'd asked to be pulled into the boat for the final time, and she was. And as the boat began with her in it to move toward the coast, the fog started to lift. Within minutes, the shoreline of California became visible, and Florence sat on the deck, wrapped in blankets, and watched in horror as she realized that she'd quit swimming exactly 1/2 mile from her goal. Out of a 21-mile swim, she had completed 20.5 miles. She had survived the sharks, cramps, and freezing temperatures for 15 hours, only to surrender within the reach of the finish line because she couldn't see it. There was a press conference the next day after she'd recovered. She sat with the press, and a reporter asked her the question that would define her legacy. He said, "Florence, you're a world-class swimmer. You've conquered the English Channel. Why did you quit so close to the shore?" Now, this is important for your lesson tonight as we go forward. Florence didn't blame the temperature. She didn't blame the sharks. By the way, any of that would have been good enough for me. She looked the reporter in the eye and she said, "I'm not excusing myself, but if I could have seen the shore, I would have made it." It wasn't the distance that defeated her. It was the disappearance of the goal. When she lost sight of the shoreline, she lost her why. Now, here's the great news. Florence Chadwick didn't stay defeated. 2 months later, she returned to the exact same spot on Catalina Island. She jumped back into that same freezing water. And almost like a test from the universe, the fog rolled in again, and it was just as thick. It was just as cold, and it was just as blinding as it has been 2 months prior. But this time, she was different. She didn't look for the shoreline with her eyes. She kept a mental image of it in her heart. She told herself, "The land is there. I know exactly where it is." And she swam forward, not with a vision of it, but with the conviction that the goal was real, even though it was invisible. And she didn't just reach the shore that day. She beat the men's world record by 2 hours. Now, why are we talking about this tonight? What is it that Chris Evans wanted us to learn all those times that he would pour into us this lesson? Because for some of you, it's January 29th and you're sitting at some place you don't want to be. Like, for example, Performance Club, you're sitting at 0 Performance Club points. You are cold, you are tired, and the fog of the month has rolled in. You can't see the 6-figure ring. You can't see the next Performance Club trip, but I am here to tell you the shore is only a half a mile away. Do not get in the boat. I mean, let's get into this. Look at the date on your phone. It's January 29th. We have 48 hours left before the books close on the first month of 2026. And that's why I wanted a chance to talk to you tonight, because I have been here a whole bunch of times. And it is worth a kitchen table conversation about a word that gets thrown around a lot, but is rarely lived out in business or in life, and that is integrity. Now, when I say integrity, most people think I'm talking about being a good person. But in business, in Legal Shield, integrity means something different. It means wholeness. It means that your actions on the 29th of the month match the big dreams and the why you talked about on the 1st of the month. I'll be the first to tell you, I've been where a whole bunch of people are right now. I've sat at my desk with 0 points on the board, feeling like the wall, the fog was 10 feet thick. I remember convincing myself, Jim, just let it slide. You'll start fresh on February 1st. But the fact is, we all realize at some point, if we're going to be around, we realize a hard truth. And I realized a hard truth that changed my life. How you finish one thing is how you finish everything. So tonight, we're not talking about points. We're talking about your reputation with the person in the mirror. Because if you can't keep a promise to yourself, you'll never be able to lead anyone else to keep a promise to themselves and to their family and to their why. So let's just spend a few minutes on this and then we'll say goodnight. Let's talk about the math of this business. Most people in the world work 100% of the job for 100% of the stress. But in Legal Shield, we have a luxury that most entrepreneurs would die for. Think about what happens behind the scenes while you and I are sleeping. Legal Shield has spent 53 years and hundreds of millions of dollars building an infrastructure that is world-class. They handle the provider law firms. They build and maintain the technology like the mobile apps. They handle the billing, the customer service, complex legal compliance in 50 states and provinces in Canada. That's the 99%. They have cleared the entire ocean for you and I so we can just sail. The only thing they ask of us, the only rent we pay for this massive platform and opportunity is the 1%. And that 1% is Performance Club. I remember when I finally understood this. Because when I wasn't qualifying, I was essentially telling the company, telling Mark Riches and other mentors, I'll take the 99% you provide, but I'm not going to show up for my 1%. And folks, that's not a partnership. That's a hobby. And hobbies don't build legacies. Honoring your Legal Shield business means showing up for your end of the bargain. If we can't protect a few families a month, we aren't business owners. We're just fans of the service. And that, by the way, is totally okay if that's what you want to be. But I think people show up in a place like this on Thursday nights to learn about creating passive income, residual income, legacy income, about building an empire, about being so impactful in your community and communities across the map that they can't help but cheer you on. They can't help but celebrate your name. And I want to clear up a massive misconception about Performance Club. Something that has frustrated me ever since I started to understand the truth of the program is that some people think that if they miss Performance Club, that they're being punished because they missed out on the bonus, right? The $200, the $400, the $500 bonus. They think the punishment is losing the trip to Maui or the Bahamas or wherever we're going next. Let me be clear. This company doesn't punish. They haven't, they won't. Legal Shield only rewards. These bonuses are gifts for doing the work. Don't look at them as punishments when it's removed and let yourself off the hook. They are a thank you for being a professional. But while the company doesn't punish, the universe does. When we neglect Performance Club, we aren't just missing a paycheck, a bonus. We're chasing away every other great thing waiting for us. You know what's on the other side of that? The six-figure ring, the Millionaires Club, passive residual income that'll let you be a full-time parent or grandparent. Those are things that are sitting behind a locked door, and Performance Club is the only key. Because the universe is a system of order. And it will not give you the big things if you can't be trusted with the small things. If you won't commit to the 1%, the universe knows you're not ready for the $1 million legacy. So make no mistake, you're not losing out on $500 when you miss Performance Club, when you don't go for it, when you don't finish what you started. You're telling the universe you aren't ready for wealth yet. You're telling the universe you're not ready for wealth yet. So tonight, decide. Decide that you're finally ready to be trusted with the big stuff. Because why are we here? I mean, I hope that you're here for the six-figure annual income in a passive fashion. Build a team. Create leverage. I hope you're here so that you can have time and money freedom. But how do we get there? You don't get there by being a superstar seller who does 50 apps, 100 apps, and then disappears for 3 months. And we have those. But that's not how you do it. You get there in our business, you want to be here 20 years from now, 30 years from now, like Mr. Mark Riches is. You want to be someone we're talking about 53 years later. We're still talking about Ken Moore. We're still talking about Wilburn Smith. We're still talking about John Hale. Why? Because you get there by gathering a team, first small team of committed associates who are in Performance Club every single month with you. And then you grow that into an army. But here's the law of leadership. Here's what all of those pioneers understood. Your team will never outproduce you. If you're at zero, if I'm at zero, our teams are going to stay at zero. If you slide this month, you're giving every person you recruit a permission slip to slide to. Every month you miss Performance Club, you're hitting the snooze button on your future, on your retirement. You're literally pushing your freedom back 30 days every time you settle for maybe next month. I realized early on that I could lead a volunteer army. Or I should say I couldn't, if I wasn't willing to be the first one over the wall. And you could be brand new tonight. You're saying, Jim, this is heavy stuff. I don't know even what Performance Club is. It doesn't matter. Learn, make the commitment and learn the details later. Because you're either the engine of your team or you're the anchor. You're either the engine of your team or you're the anchor. Mark Riches taught us speed of the leader determines the speed of the pack. I'm suggesting to you that you are either driving this business or you're holding it back. Which one are you going to be for this next 48 hours? So how do we finish? Some of you are probably asking yourself this question, right? Let's go back to the chat. I just say me in the chat. If you want to be a part of the legacy of this company, that 100 more years from now, when they talk about Legal Shield, they can't talk about Legal Shield without talking about you. Put me in the chat. When people are talking about their kids and their grandkids are in this business and they're millionaires because you came into this business. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about legacy building. I watched Ken Moore bring his son and his grandchildren into this business, and they all became Millionaire Club members. I'm watching Mark Riches form a huge family, kids and grandkids, and future Millionaire Club members will come from that. We're talking about ending cycles of poverty for our associates and their families so that the wrongs are righted, so that the future is corrected. And I'm seeing some me's. So let's talk about that fog again. Let's go back to the fog. That fog is just a story that some of us are too willing to tell ourselves about why people won't buy a membership or why they're too busy to get started. It's time to stop thinking about all that and start honoring the business we're in. Grab your phone. I mean it. Pick it up, and if you're not watching the Zoom, but open your contacts. Find 5 names. 5 names. 5 people in your phone that don't have a will. 5 people in your phone that are unprotected. They don't have Legal Shield yet. 5 people who deserve to have a lawyer in their pocket, like you and I do. 5 people that deserve to have more time with their kids, with their grandkids, with their faith community, and to invest in their passions because they're not just in the rat race trading time for money. Because when we hang up this Zoom, I don't want you to consider contacting them. I want you to contact them. I want you to tell them, hey, listen, I'm in a sprint to finish my month and protect 2 more families. And I've been meaning to show this to you. Can you give me a few minutes tonight? That's putting your money where your mouth is. And putting your money where your mouth is, it means doing the work when it's uncomfortable. It means being true to yourself. It means locking down January so you can look your team in the eye on February 1st and say, I led the way. It means you honor the business. You honor yourself. It means you're invested in getting families protected. It means you care about the business owner that otherwise wouldn't have access to advocates and experts. You care about the commercial driver that otherwise would be targeted in municipalities seen as a revenue source, where his license is endangering his license is his livelihood. It means you care about the people that we could return as parents to their children, as grandparents to their grandchildren, that you believe that there is a brighter future and a better way, that nobody has to ever again wonder what to do when they're being pushed around and bullied. Nobody ever again has to wonder who to call when there's injustice at their front door. Being a part of a solution when for so many years, so many of us have just tried to stay out of the way of the problems. Folks, there are millions of people that right now have no idea Legal Shield exists. They have no idea we're having this meeting. And yet they would use our services and they would recognize the value of them immediately in a proper presentation. There are thousands of people that you could contact, people you know and referrals from people you know that you haven't met yet, that are ready to join a business because they're sick and tired of being sick and tired. Because they want to go from answering to the boss to being the boss. That they want to end going to work every day in traffic, office politics, capped ceilings. Someone else is the boss because they were there longer, not because they're more committed to the business, not because they're willing to work harder, but because they got in first. All of those things that keep us from our true happiness and joy, that send us home to our families that we love so much. And we go home in such a dark place because of all of the joy sucking that comes out of those days we spend at work. We can fix that for people. Here's what I hope. I hope you build a massive Legal Shield business. I hope you join us as Millionaire Club members. The sooner, the better. Because here's what I really hope. I hope that when your faith community needs a new roof for a building, that the first call they make is you. And they don't have to make any other calls. What I hope is that you're earning so much income with this business that you don't know what to do with it all. So you start gifting it to the people and to the operations that mean the most to you. That you have so much joy in your life that the joy overflows and you pour that joy around you to others. And all of a sudden, what was once a dark day for them becomes enlightened just because you were there. What I hope is that when all of what would normally be tension of life, wondering just how to get justice or how to stay out of the way of injustice, is removed from your daily operations, when wondering how you're going to pay a bill is replaced by every bill is on autopilot, The joy and the light in your life boils over and creates light for others. What I hope is that you are the lighthouse. Because the lighthouse doesn't have to move. See, the lighthouse can take an anchor position, a position of dominance high on the hill, and it can shine a bright light into darkness. That's what I hope you will become in your community, because there are so many of us. There are 50 plus of us here tonight. Can you imagine? That's 54 more lighthouses shining bright on the hill, cutting into the darkness with certainty. See, the one thing I know about a lighthouse is that if it's here today, it will be here tomorrow. The sand will shift. The, the, the surf will go out and it will come back in. That's the nature of the beach. The ships will go by in all directions, but the lighthouse remains. That's who you and I are. That's what it is to be an agent of change in other people's lives. That's what it is to pour your light into the darkness. So the darkness must retreat. And that's why what you do matters so much, and why it is and always will be important, noble work. And most importantly, why I can't imagine another group of people in the world that I'd want to do it with. John Fehrenbach, thanks so much for having me. Back over to you, sir.
Mr. Tanner, thank you very much. Wow, wow, wow. I hope you had your notebooks out. What wonderful training. Great to ponder and sleep on tonight and get up in the morning and just start to rock it. Listen, everybody, as you know, this meeting is about to end, but the work is just beginning. Good night, everybody.